Your engineers are slow, your calendar is wrecked, and you just spent 30 minutes arbitrating a bug priority call that a P1, P3 rubric should have handled at intake. That's not a talent problem. That's a missing decision architecture, and it's costing you 20 plus hours a week. You look at your team and you think, is it the roadmap? Is it the process? I'm going to tell you it's neither. The real problem is that you've accidentally become the human operating system for your company. Every decision that doesn't have a routing rule gets manually processed through you. By the end of this video, you'll have the 3-layer system that gets those decisions off your desk permanently and a measurable way to know if it's actually working. Let me show you. Section 1 is the human middleware diagnosis. Let me show you exactly what this looks like in practice. 3 scenarios. You've seen all of them, probably this week. Scenario 1, the bug severity fight. Support calls a bug a P1. Engineering calls the same bug a P3. Nobody can agree, so the conflict escalates and lands on your desk. You're now spending 30 minutes arbitrating a priority call that should have been decided at intake. The root cause isn't the disagreement. It's that no severity definition exists at the gate. When there's no rule, someone has to make the call. And the safest move for anyone in the middle is to just kick it upstairs. Now, scenario number 2, the product versus engineering roadmap fight. Product wants a feature shipped now. Engineering says the platform needs stabilization first. Both sides are right. Both sides have legitimate stakes. And somehow, that fight ends up where? In your hands on a Tuesday afternoon. This one feels strategic, but it isn't. It's just proof that no decision domain boundary exists between those two functions. There's no clear rule about who owns what. So everything controversial becomes your problem. Now, scenario 3, the architecture approval request. A senior engineer, someone you hired specifically for their technical judgment, sends you a Slack message asking whether the team should use Kafka or RabbitMQ. I once had a DBA walk into my office asking for a 2-day delay to improve a report query by a millisecond. That wasn't a leadership problem. That was a sovereignty problem. When teams don't know what they own, they stop trusting their own judgment. Every decision feels like it needs a signature. Here's what all 3 have in common. On the surface, they look different. A bug fight, a roadmap fight, an architecture question. Underneath, they're the same failure. No decision architecture means everything controversial gets kicked upstairs. Now, the fix isn't telling people to escalate less. That never works. The fix is building a system where they already know what they own, what they can decide, and most of all, when to call you. Now, here's the exact 3-layer system I've used to cut executive escalations by 80%. Stay with me, because layer 2 is the one most organizations completely skip. Now, if you're new here, this channel is built for CTOs who are done improvising. Subscribe if that's you. Now, the DCAT decision architecture formula is 3 layers. Here's how they stack. Decision architecture equals domain sovereignty plus guardrails plus escalation triggers. 3 layers. Each one does a very specific job, and you need all 3 because they work together or they don't work at all. Stop treating autonomy like a vibe. Build it as a system. So layer 1 is local technical authority. This is the foundation. A team owns how work gets implemented inside its own boundary. Architecture decisions, tooling choices, inside platform standards, implementation sequencing, routine design trade-offs. All of that stays inside the team. Now, if you own the billing service, you decide how it's built. Naming conventions, library choices, your refactor approach. Those never reach my desk. Not because I don't care about quality, but because the team is accountable for outcomes and they need the authority to match that accountability. The Kafka versus RabbitMQ escalation goes away. The naming convention debate goes away. The routine design review request that shows up in your Slack at 11 in the morning, gone. Those decisions have a home now, and that home isn't you. No sovereignty later, you're the system. Every time. Now, layer 2 is operational outcome authority. Most orgs skip this one entirely. Teams own the outcome, not just the code. Billing reliability, payment success rate, API uptime. That's the domain. The team now has a metric they're accountable for, which means they have the standing to make trade-offs against that metric without asking for permission first. This is what directly solves the roadmap fight. When engineering owns systems, reliability, thresholds, and product owns feature prioritization inside those thresholds, the conflict has a structure. Engineering can say, we can't take on new feature work until reliability is above X. Product can say, inside that constraint, here's what we're prioritizing. The CTO no longer arbitrates. The domains do that work. No outcome authority, your team runs tickets, not decisions. Now, layer 3 is bounded resource authority. Now, this is the layer that clears the most calendar time, and it's the most overlooked. Teams need pre-approved authority over time, capacity, and budget inside fixed limits. Cloud spend up to a defined ceiling. Sprint capacity allocation up to a defined percentage for reliability work. Tooling purchases under a set threshold, no escalation required. You set the guardrails once, and the team operates within them without checking in. Without this layer, the CTO suddenly becomes the approval desk for every small spend and every resource shift. Can we buy this monitoring tool? Can we move 2 engineers over to this reliability initiative for a sprint? Those questions feel minor, but they add up fast. If you're fielding 10 of them a week, that's 10 decisions that should have been pre-authorized at the domain level. No resource authority, you're the approval desk. Congratulations. Now, put all 3 layers together and you get a clean definition worth writing down. A team is sovereign when it owns implementation, operating outcomes, and bounded resources inside a clearly defined decision domain. Now, I'm going to repeat that one more time for you. A team is sovereign when it owns implementation, operating outcomes, and bounded resources inside a clearly defined decision domain. Organizations that install all 3 layers typically see weekly executive escalations drop from 25 to 40 decisions per week down to 5 to 10. The CTO's calendar starts clearing, not because people stopped having problems, but because the system now routes those problems to the right level. Now, before DCAT, problems flow to whoever has the authority to decide. After DCAT, authority flows to whoever is closest to the problem. Now, we want to talk about the 4 escalation triggers. Sovereignty without escalation rules creates chaos, but in the other direction. Teams start making calls that they shouldn't. Cross-functional decisions get made unilaterally. Something breaks and nobody flagged it because everyone assumed the problem belongs to someone else's domain. So the escalation triggers are not optional. They're what keeps the system from swinging too far. Most companies sit at one of 2 broken extremes. They escalate everything, which is what we've been diagnosing, or they escalate nothing until the building is on fire. Neither is a system. What you need is a red phone rule. A decision should only reach the CTO when it crosses one of 4 thresholds. 1, cross-domain collision. Remember the bug severity fight from the earlier in the video? That's this. 2 teams, overlapping domains, rules can't resolve it. That one reaches you. And number 2 is strategic impact. The decision changes roadmap direction, major architecture or business priorities in a way that affects the next 6 to 12 months. If it rewrites the plan, it has to come to you. And if it doesn't, then it shouldn't. Number 3 is material risk. Security exposure, regulatory risk, major outage potential, customer trust damage, or a meaningful financial hit. When the downside is severe enough to threaten the business, it escalates, regardless of which domain it touches. 4. Resource threshold breach. The decision exceeds pre-approved limits, requires major reallocation of engineering capacity, or forces trade-offs between major commitments that were already locked. That's the rule. Escalate when a decision crosses domains, changes strategy, creates material risk, or breaches resource guardrails. Everything else stays down where the work happens. And here's your diagnostic. If your escalation count is still sitting at 25 or more per week after you've installed decision domains, one of the 3 sovereignty layers is missing or unclear. The escalation count just doesn't lie. 4 weeks. That's all this takes if you're disciplined. Here's the sequence. Week 1, define your decision domain. Week 2, install escalation triggers. Week 3, implement intake gate rules. Week 4, track your escalation count. If you're constantly putting out fires, the problem probably isn't your engineers, it's your execution system. You can download the Decision Architecture Worksheet linked below. It maps all 3 layers to your specific domains. Run the escalation count diagnostic at the end of week 4. If you're still above 10, something in layer 1 is broken. Drop your escalation number in the comments. I'll tell you which layer to fix first. Now, if this was useful, please like it, share it with your CPTO, and subscribe if you want the system, not the symptoms. Now get to work.